Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3456. Today's date is 19th of June 2025. It's been almost like a morning at 9:15 a.m. All right. By the way, I just record the artifact. Okay, but I just kind of like a stop in between because there is some sort of reason at home. So I just drop it, and like there is a really beautiful topic I'm actually talking about. So whatever, it's just like when the interruption is actually happened when I'm recording artifact, I just don't really like it. Yeah, I just like when I record the artifact, I am kind of like I'm into that particular zone to talk and stuff like that, and suddenly there is some sort of stuff is in between, then I just like, yeah, and then I have to re-record everything. It's just like a whole new kind of like effort that I'm kind of like a thinking right now, but whatever. Yeah, it's like I wanted to express these thoughts and stuff like that, like when I ask questions to myself, multiple questions, okay, regarding about every topic and things like that, I learn something new. I kind of like explore my mind in something very different ways, and I try to build new connection of neurons inside of my brain regarding about this particular topic, and I get a little bit of that. Okay, yeah, because when something like there is a one thing that I understand, I learn whatever it is. Okay, I just like if you wanted to learn, read a book or kind of like a watch YouTube videos or kind of like a somebody is this thing. Okay, yeah, if you wanted to remember, then practice and teach. Okay, yeah, like if you wanted to remember any kind of like a topic or any kind of like a stuff, you just have to make sure that practice means like that. If there is a numerical, you just have to practice. Okay, if there is a theory, you just have to teach. Okay, yeah, like when you are doing practice or when you are doing teaching, let's just imagine a teaching. When you're teaching, you are kind of like a somebody try to talk with yourself, try to understand the topic from your point of perspective. And when you teach, you are kind of like a somebody not miss, like you are kind of like a cover up every details regarding about every story. Like basically is this thing na ki, like a let's just imagine the breakup is actually happened to you. Okay, yeah, what is it, who is a person who kind of like a somebody person who could kind of like a tell is the what exactly happened to you. Obviously you is the only person who could kind of like a tell the everything what exactly happened, why this actual breakup happened to you. Why? Because you are the kind of like a somebody the victim, you are kind of like a whatever it is, you victim or whoever the person you are, but you are kind of like a somebody understand everything because everything actually happened to you. So basically you can understand that particular topic even more beautifully, even more realistic point of perspective, because you are the kind of like a somebody something witness of that particular person, witness of that particular situation. So you get it now. So basically is this thing, whatever the stuff is actually happened to you, and when you try to explain this thing, you kind of like somebody explain this thing very much beautifully and very much things like that. But if you wanted to try to explain things that you don't really knew, like example is this thing that economy or kind of like a things that like a basically these are kind of like a topic that I am not really aware of that particular numbers and things like that. So I am kind of like a somebody very not to talk about this particular topic, or like basically is this thing that na ki the I'm not really familiar with this all the situation and surrounding stuff like that. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing na ki your brain or your kind of like a some stuff that rewire again when you are try to explain this thing again with yourself or with explain to someone else. By the teaching process you remember more. Okay, yeah, for a very long period of time. So in this artifact I just kind of like a do the same thing. Okay, like whatever the topic, whatever the question that I ask, when I ask this question, I kind of like a somebody find the seek the answer in a Google Gemini. Okay, yeah, and Google Gemini is actually giving the answer regarding about what is the actual topic and stuff like that. Okay, and try to I resonate with my experience with the information that I collect with kind of like express this thing in a artifact episode. Okay, so it's kind of like a something it remember me for a very long period of time. So that's why I'm kind of like asking this bunch of questions to myself, and it is kind of like a somebody help me to remember stuff for a very long period of time, understand stuff for a very long period of time. I don't know, it added so much values inside of me. So that's it. All right, yeah, so let's just talk directly into the question. All right, yeah, let's just go. Okay, so what is actually the question? Okay, the question is define the soft porn. All right, okay, I define the soft porn in a context of social media. Okay, what is actually soft porn? Okay, what is actually this thing? By the way, you already knew what is actually porn. Okay, yeah, porn is a kind of like something very hardcore process of male and female kind of like a do those things. It's a kind of like a something reproduction. It's a kind of like a somebody that it, why I'm actually explaining this thing porn. Whoever the person who's listening, everyone knows what is actually porn and things like. It's a very common phenomenon. Everyone knows that. Okay. So what is exactly the soft porn, and what is actually in the social media context? What is actually the soft porn? Yeah, a soft porn means like that you are kind of like a somebody revealing your body parts in a certain way that you are not completely naked, but you are covered up with some sort of thing. Okay, yeah, let's just imagine. Okay, you are fully covered, like you are kind of like a woman with kind of like a clothes and things like that. Let's just imagine a color is a white, means pure. Okay, yeah. Now that same woman with naked body, okay, yeah, like basically just like she just removed all the clothes, and yeah, so this is called kind of like a something black. Okay, let's just imagine. So the girls on cloth is a white, the girls completely naked is a black. Okay, yeah. Soft porn is in between that. Okay, yeah. It's not completely naked, but it's not completely fully covered. No, it is in between that. Okay, it is in between that. It's a kind of like a gray area where kind of like a little bit of white, little bit of black. Okay, yeah, this is what it is. This is what kind of like a soft porn. It's kind of like a somebody is this thing that ki girl on bikini. Okay, yeah, if the girl is actually wearing bikini, is it kind of like a somebody soft porn? No, nothing at all, because bikini is not meant to be kind of like expressing a soft porn. Okay, soft porn is a kind of like a something that na ki taking some sort of photos or kind of like a revealing some sort of body parts in a such a way it looks like sexual. It looks like sexual. Okay, yeah. Like basically is this thing, like if I'm gonna say girl on bikini, like every girl is on the bikini kind of like a look sexual. Well, not, definitely not. Okay, yeah, because let me tell you one thing. Being a sexual, like being a sexual means like that ki if the person is wanted to be look like a sexual, it is a skill. Yeah, it is legit skill. It's a legit skill. Okay, yeah. Being too sexy, it's a skill. It's not kind of like a something they are built in. No, no, like basically just say like I am a woman, I have these boobs and stuff like that, so I am being like a revealing some sort of like a revealing clothes, though then I be kind of like a something look sexual. No, that is not. Oh yeah, like being sexual means like that. It's a skill. It's a talent. Yeah, it it is that. Oh, what do you mean by that? How this is should supposed to be a talent? Well, um, okay, yeah. Um, okay. So I watch porn. Okay, it's not that yeah, I'm kind of like I watch porn too. Okay, yeah. Uh, my favorite website to watch porn is xhamster.com. By the way, this website is banned in India, but still, by some VPN, you could access this website. Okay, yeah. So this is the website of porn. Like I'm kind of like only expressing too much, but yeah, I watch porn. Okay, yeah, I watch porn on xhamster.com is a porn website. Okay, yeah. Now in this website, when you play any kind of like some video, it kind of like shows the advertisement regarding about other porn sites. Okay, yeah, like basically the video call things like that. Yeah, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. Okay, yeah. So I don't know. Okay, yeah. what? Let's just okay, yeah. It's kind of like a somebody just like I'm expressing kind of like a very kind of like in very like it's a very it's not a secret by the way, but no one is actually talk about that ki, like are you watching porn, like you ask us this question. Yeah, I watch porn, and then like basically ask this question, where do you watch the porn, like what kind of like a site that you use, and people are literally hesitate to talk about that thing, even if the guys okay, like some people are okay, let's just get the point. Fuck, dude, get the point. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I watch porn. Okay, yeah. I kind of like something watch porn from X Hamster website. Okay, yeah. So in the X Hamster website, there is a multiples porn. Okay, what's a multiple porn? Multiple category of the porn. What do you mean by category of the porn? Like there is a multiple category of the porn. Okay, yeah. Like if the girl is doing sex with a girl, she is called lesbian. If the girl is actually sex with a boy, that is called porn. I don't know, it is lot of thing. Okay, it's I don't know lot of like what is actually your favorite category. Fuck. I like hardcore. Okay, I like intimacy, I like that. raw energy. Okay, so hardcore is like, I like hardcore. Okay, I'm just like, I don't know, it's felt really wrong. It's kind of like a something, it's not really secret, but it's kind of like a something I'm a bit really hesitant to talk, but fuck it. Okay, yeah. uh what exactly you wanted to say? Okay, yeah. So when I opened that particular website, okay, yeah, it kind of like a showcase the Indian pawn. Okay, like basically the pawn star in India, they are kind of like a making their pawn in India too. Yeah, it's not really that key, India doesn't really make pawn. Yeah, India make pawn too. Okay, yeah. So there is a difference between the the model from India and model from US or another country. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: I was not really aroused, or I was not really kind of like somebody sexually aroused with a Indian female porn star. Okay, yeah. Why not? Because they don't really have the quality of being sexual. Means what I just explained earlier, being sexy is a talent, it's a skill, have to learn. It's not kind of like a somebody revealing the clothes and you became sexual. It's not. It is not. Okay, being sexual is a kind of like a talent. You just have to understand the pose, understand where is the camera and how do you supposed to express your thoughts and stuff like express your personality. Okay, yeah. Another thing is that being sexual, like being a naked on porn and things like that, it's a talent. Okay, yeah. It's legit talent. It's not they are fucking with themselves. Okay, just like they are not fucking. It's a kind of like a fucking, yeah. It's a very kind of like a really wrong topic, but okay, yeah. Okay, I'm really bit really hesitant to talk, but whatever. Okay, I'll just say. Okay, so what is actually being skill means like that? Okay, like basically in the porn, they both are fucking each other, right? Yeah. So it's a kind of like a somebody very natural thing, right? No, it's not. Okay, yeah. When you make porn, uh, like basically the like a realization is actually happened. Like when I watch the American porn versus Indian porn. Okay, yeah. Indian porn movies, American porn movies are feel little bit of standard, feel little bit of kind of like something sexual, feel little bit of some kind of like a something that key perfectly lit. Okay, yeah. um like it is a kind of like a somebody same act that both the thing I do, like basically like the American people do the sexual thing, Indian people do the sexual thing, but the presentation, the way that people act is very different too. Same thing happened with the Japanese too, because I do you watch Japanese porn? Oh my god. I didn't really watch Japanese porn. I just like hardcore fuck. Oh boy. Shit. Okay, it's like, oh. Okay, let's just understand from now knowledge point of perspective, not kind of like something sexual point of perspective. Okay, I just get it. Okay, yeah. Let's just talk one by one. Okay, let's compare the US and Indian porn movies. Okay, what is actually difference that you find? Okay, yeah. So basically in US porn movies, first of all, everything is properly lit, everything is properly light up. Okay, yeah. The subject, the male person, the female person is properly lit. Okay, yeah. Another thing is that the basically look at your body, look at your reproductive part. It's messy, it's kind of like a something that it's kind of like a with lot of hair, is a lot of pubic hair and things like that. Is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. Okay, it's kind of like a meant to be kind of like a prevent the temperature over there. Because let me tell you one thing, as a male point of perspective, I'm not really sure about the female point of perspective. As a male point of perspective, our scrotum can create the sperm with perfect temperature. Like basically it will not create the sperm if it is too hot, or if it not create the sperm if it too much cold. Okay, yeah, that's why our scrotum is actually outside our body, it's not inside our body. Because inside our body is a kind of like a temperature is not really maintained. Okay, yeah, because basically when we got ill or things like that, the temperature became really higher and things like that, it affect the quality of the sperm and things like that. So that's why in male genital scrotum is actually outside our body, so that it kind of like a maintain the proper temperature. Okay, yeah. So when the scrotum is actually outside, so basically there is a kind of like a mutation is actually happen to prevent the scrotum, okay, so that it create the kind of like a healthy sperm, okay, yeah. So how does it prevent is because of kind of like add the pubic hair and things like that, okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like actually add the pubic hair, which is kind of like a really good, okay, yeah, so that it kind of like a maintain the, it kind of like a act as an insulation, okay. Do you understand the insulation term? Insulation means like that ki, like if there is a hot or if there is a cold, you just put the kind of like a something, the multiple cottons and things like that, yeah, the heat or kind of like a temperature will not gonna transfer very fastly, okay, yeah. Like a basically is this thing, the insulation, like there is a lot of thing, okay, like if you wanted to understand the insulation, you just have to google it, stuff like that, okay, yeah. So same thing happen natural too, like basically all those pubic hair that around the genital area is called kind of like a meant for kind of like a prevent the insulation so that it maintain the temperature. What is the temperature of the scrotum is almost like maybe, I'm not really sure the exact temperature, but probably 25 to 30 degrees Celsius is kind of like a something, a nominal temperature to create the scrotum can create the kind of like a something healthy sperm, okay, which is really essential. So that's why it has a pubic hair over there, okay, yeah. So when you are in the porn movies, okay, yeah, having that pubic hair is something really not good, okay, yeah. So they shave, okay. Also let me tell you one thing, another thing, okay, yeah. So our genital area is kind of like something in between our upper body and lower body, okay, yeah. Like our body means like that, our tongue, stomach, like all the vital organs are actually upward, hands and things like that. Lower body is my legs and thighs and things like that, okay, yeah. Our genital area is actually lies in between them, okay, yeah. Why? It because of that he, the middle part of the body is kind of like a have little less movement than upper and lower part of body. What do you mean by that? Can you imagine if there is a genital area is at your knees? Can you? No, it's not. Like basically if your genital area as you are at knees, probably it's not, because our knees are kind of like always move, and probably there are a lot of moving particles, the scrotum and the penis and things like that, it is move all the time. And if there is a movement is actually happened with the kind of like a, when we walk and things like that, it cannot prevent itself, okay, yeah. Well, like imagine if you're kind of like a somebody, your genital area at your stomach, okay, let's just imagine beyond your kind of like a chest, like the stomach where it is, you just put your penis over there, okay, yeah. Is this kind of like a really good? No, it's not, because if the penis is actually at the below your chest or things like that, then probably it's really uncovered. Because of that key, basically our chest part of body is a kind of like a somebody taking all the kind of like a somebody wind flow, everything. It's not really unprotected that much, okay, yeah. Like you could build all those protection things, but still it's not really that much protected. Our middle part of the body is kind of like a somebody very protected area, it's not really have that much movement, so scrotum and penis will not that much move. Another thing is that it's kind of like a something very covered, like a basically if there is something really wrong, we actually covered our genital area with very properly, okay. Like we just kind of like a simply do the like I don't know, like there are so many multiple ways. You just kind of like a sit or kind of like a whatever it is, you just kind of like a take the impact of your upper body and lower body first, then kind of like a simply the like a middle part, lower part of body, okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that key, the position of the genital area is kind of like a something in between, which is kind of like a something really crucial for protection, okay, yeah. But also there is a wrong too, okay, yeah. Wrong means like what? So because of our genital area is actually in between our bodies, in between means upper and lower body, okay. So basically in between our bodies, it creates a lot of sweat, okay, yeah. Like basically we all move, we all gather, we all run, things like that, whatever, okay. We are mammals and we come up with the sweat. We don't really have a fur, we have kind of like a something come with sweat is a kind of like a something really essential thing, because if we don't really sweat, our body cannot cool down, okay. So sweat is really essential to cooling our down and things like that. Mostly our sweat is actually come up with a kind of like a from like a basically mostly sweat, okay. I'm talking about almost like a 7 to 80% of the sweat is actually come up from the chest area to hand to face, and kind of like a yeah, these are kind of like from the area where you feel the lot of sweat, okay, yeah. But there is also another sweat is actually come up your genital area. Your genital area is always covered with you actually wearing underwear or pants or whatever it is, it's actually covered. So basically your genital area doesn't really expose with that much sunlight, doesn't really expose with that much air and things like that. So it became little bit of dark, yeah, it became little bit of dark. And it's a very natural, by the way, as well as kind of like a, all the sweat and everything is actually kind of like a kind of like a something scattered in one place, like basically your middle or your genital area part, okay, where yeah, because of this sweat and things like that, your the around of your genital area become little bit of dark and things like that. It is very very common. It is very very common. It's not really that kind of like a something very bad. No, it's very common. Okay, it's a kind of like a, and it has to be happen because of that key. We are kind of like a protecting our genital area, so that's why it's become little bit of dark and things like that. Okay, yeah. Okay, why I'm actually talking about this thing? Okay, yeah. um this is kind of like a something. Okay, I just already mentioned why this is actually dark. Okay, yeah. But this is kind of like a something very something really. Okay, but when you are try to make a shoot, when you try to make a porn, okay, yeah, you have to make sure that your reproductive area is kind of like a look really good. Okay, yeah. Black is not the kind of like a color that look good. Yeah. So basically all the porn star in the kind of like a something, the all the porn star in a Hollywood or in kind of like a something American porn media, they are kind of like a clean that area properly. They shave their proper area properly. They shave the scrotum, not only scrotum but as also penis and things like that. Like their reproductive organ is kind of like a look really clean. Okay, yeah. They not only shave but as also kind of like a do the kind of like a something vaccine or god knows what does they do, but they do everything to make it the area as much as they clean, because this is the part of the area where bit more focus in the camera. Okay, so basically this should supposed to be look good. Okay, yeah. Black color, the natural color, it's not really look good. Okay, so this is what kind of like a difference is actually happened, the American porn media and Indian porn media. In Indian porn media, this area is not really proper kind of like a something taking care of that. Okay, like people might gonna do shave and things like that, but it's not really that much attractive as a kind of like a something female, as a kind of like a American porn media. Like a American porn media take care of this entire thing and try to make sure that everything will look really good. Okay, yeah. Indian porn media is not really that. Indian porn media is not really taking that much seriously. It just kind of like a simply just do it and things like that. Why does Indian porn media is not actually taking care of that thing? Because the production quality. Okay, let's just imagine that the in Hollywood movies, in American porn film are made with a budget. It's a kind of like a movie. Okay, yeah. Like a basically when you put money into make the movies, the quality of the movies look really, really good, because when you have a movie, you can invest money on kind of like a multiple skills, or kind of like add multiple cameras with lights and things like that. Your budget is increased as well as your production quality is also increased. Okay, yeah. This actually happened in the American porn media, because American porn media is actually shoot with a budget. Okay, yeah, like they are not shooting just no, they are kind of like have some sort of budget with cameras and crews and kind of like actor and actress and properly shave and properly kind of like look really beautiful in and out and everything. Okay, yeah. So they have proper budget. Okay, and when they have proper budget and then they shoot. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like a systematic way to create the porn movie in American film industry. Okay, yeah. In Indian film industry, sorry, in Indian porn media, okay, there is kind of like a very difference, because in Indian porn media there is no budget. There is like almost nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. And whoever the girl is actually kind of like a making the porn film is a prostitute, or is this thing. Prostitute is not the kind of like a somebody person who actually maintain to take care of the things and that, because prostitutes are meant to be kind of like a somebody people who kind of like a fuck them and just yeah. So basically is this thing, the Indian porn film is kind of like a somebody, it doesn't really feel that much sexual and things like that. Okay, yeah. But dude, what is exactly your point? Why are you explain this all those stuff? Why are you actually comparing this thing and something like that? Okay, yeah. I am comparing is this thing is because of kind of like a something that key the naked body is a kind of like a something looks very different from adding the production quality or kind of like things like that. Like a if there is a woman who is actually have like a if the same woman with kind of like a something no taking care of your pubic hair or kind of like basically it's not really look good on camera or kind of like a things like that, we are not really that much sexually aroused with that particular woman. But same woman is kind of like a taking care of her, taking care of the all the pubic hair, kind of like a wax everything, looks really beautiful, not only genital area but as also her boob area or everything. It looks kind of like a little bit of sexual thing. It look like sexually arousing thing. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, that the sexual is a kind of like a somebody art. It's a skill. Okay, yeah, and it has to be learned. Okay, it's not kind of like a somebody taking care of your body and looks good, but as well as kind of like a act too. Okay, yeah, because it is really essential to, if you wanted to kind of like arouse a sexual, it is a kind of like a skills. Okay, skills comes from the kind of like a somebody practice and things like that. So you just have to practice the sexual thing. I don't know, but it's like that na, ki it's something that na, ki you just have to learn. You just have to kind of like a somebody embrace the fact that this is the kind of like a somebody skill, this is the kind of like a art form, and you just have to express yourself as much as sexual things through the position, through the whatever exactly stuff, and that you are thinking is that. Okay, yeah. So sexual arousing is kind of like a something that ki emotion which kind of like a enhanced by the skills of the sexual creativity, that how much you kind of like move your body, how much you showcase your body organ, the way that you, it is that, it is that. Dude, you are talking really very bad now. Like why are you talking like this thing? It's a like a talking about porn and things like that. Like, and also the topic is not really talk about that. The topic is about the soft porn. Why are you actually explain this thing porn and something like that? Well, I don't know. When I just when I wanted to talk, I just talk about in details and everything. Okay, yeah. I know it's a very kind of like some very controversial things, but I wanted to express. I want to express this thing. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, that the kind of like a being sexy or being sexual is a craft. Okay, is a kind of like a craft, and that craft should supposed to be kind of like a something generated, or kind of like that craft is kind of like a something that ki uh, it it should supposed to be learned. It's not kind of like a somebody being sexual is a kind of like a somebody just remove your clothes and things like that. No, it's not. Okay, yeah, like a being too sexy is a kind of like a things that, yeah, how do you supposed to express your body parts and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, the porn media is a kind of like a something, I'm trying to explain this thing as much as simple as it is. Okay, yeah. But now this is called kind of like a porn media, but in a social media there is a very different game. Okay, yeah, in social media you cannot kind of like a simply showcase your kind of like a upper and lower body or reproductive organ in very, no, it can't. Okay, yeah, Twitter allows that. Okay, yeah, I will not gonna talk about the Twitter. Twitter is kind of like allow whatever the stuff that you wanted to put in, you can put it that. Okay, yeah. But Instagram and YouTube is a kind of like a simply way that prevent that, those action, prevent those kind of like a simply that ki you shouldn't supposed to be upload any kind of like a something the naked body stuff like that. There is a community guideline over there. Okay, yeah, for YouTube as well as Instagram too. Okay, yeah, but it only meant for kind of like a something naked body. It only meant for kind of like a something that you cannot upload the kind of like a full naked body, or kind of like a somebody have naked thing. No, you cannot. Okay, yeah, but you can allow to upload being sexual, means like you can allow to upload kind of like a somebody little bit sexy, little bit of kind of like a something that allows you little bit of sexual, like a, it's not really fully naked, but it's not really fully covered. It's a kind of like something in between. Okay, yeah, like she's actually the girl is actually wearing bikini and kind of like taking a photo in a such a way that she was actually revealing her body parts with very sexual way. Okay, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You already seen it. All right, yeah. So this is what kind of like a simply a soft porn. A soft porn means like that it's not completely naked, but it's not fully covered. It's a kind of like a something in between. It's a kind of like a something gray area where it's not perfectly white, it's not perfectly dark. It's a kind of like a something in between that. And social media is allows you that. Social media is allows you for this soft porn and things like that. But why does social media is allows that? Yeah, why does allow like a like, let's just ask this first. This soft porn is wrong or right? Like, how do I supposed to judge? Like, how do I supposed to judge that the kind of like the girl is actually revealing her body part? Is it right or wrong? Well, by the way, my answer would be changed according to the time. Another thing is that I think I am not the credible person to kind of like a somebody judge that particular topic, because it's not really that I can't do that. Okay, yeah. And another thing is that ki it's something really that ki we can't draw the line that what is actually right and what is really wrong. Okay, yeah. Being completely naked, it's a wrong. Okay, yeah. Why this actually wrong? Because being a naked on social media is a kind of like a something that ki social media is a kind of like a something media. They are no everyone use that. Okay, everyone use that. The kids gonna use this thing, everything gonna use that. If the small kids are actually seeing any kind of like something naked body or things like that, they might gonna influence with this thing, because our human body are kind of like a meant through kind of like attracted towards the sexual thing. Okay, yeah, it's in our form, it's in our, we are the human, and we are always being kind of like attracted towards the female body and things like that. As a female person is always kind of like attracted towards male body, it's attraction. It's really essential for the nature. Because of that, when this attraction is not happened, the population will not gonna happen, the species will not gonna evolved. Okay, so it is really essential to be a reproduction. So that's why having little bit of attention towards sexual, it's a human thing. Okay, it's a human kind. Okay, yeah. But when you are doing this thing very far, then it might be very wrong. Like basically imagine that if the social media is allows to kind of like upload their porn video and things like that, then probably everyone will gonna expose that video, like not only the kids but everyone. And this is might be something very wrong happened. Okay, because the small kids will gonna influence by this particular process. Like basically till the age of 18 or 19, their prefrontal cortex is not really evolved that much. They don't really, they are taking very impulsive decision. They are not really taking this thing very seriously and things like that. I already explained this thing. I also take a very impulsive decision in my entire life and things like that. And it is a part of things nature, because till the age of almost like a 20, we are actually taking very impulsive decision. Okay, yeah. And in this particular period of time, if that particular person, if that particular is kind of like a something is something really that key, something the person is actually influenced by this sexual activity and things like that, that person is also influenced, and that person kind of like that kid will kind of like do the kind of like something very harmful thing with us. Like basically let's just imagine there is a girl who is actually at the age of 9, she was wanted to kind of like simply wanted to be kind of like a feel sexy and things like that, so she can upload her kind of like a half naked photo on social media platform and things like that. And probably it's not really good, because in the end that woman, that girl want to become a doctor, but in the end that woman, that girl became kind of like somebody, a porn star or things like that. Let's just imagine the like a, let's just take a real example. Okay, yeah. There is a girl named I'm not really sure. That girl name is like a, it's a very like a very popular woman. Okay, yeah. She actually earned lot more amount of money from OnlyFans. OnlyFans is a kind of like a some website where you could kind of like a showcase your naked body. Yeah, like OnlyFans is allows that, but OnlyFans is not for social media. OnlyFans is kind of like a meant for kind of like people who actually pay some sort of money to see the photo and things like that. Whatever, it's a very long game. Whatever, I'm not gonna talk about that particular stuff. But what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that key, that woman, that girl is kind of like a, when she was kind of like had an interview when she was child, she wanted to be a doctor, but when she became at the age of like when she became the pawn, like not pawn, like a kind of like a somebody the only fan model. Okay, yeah. She, yeah, like basically is this thing but is it wrong? Like basically is this thing that key like a if she became a doctor, that is good. If she became kind of like a somebody the pawn, if she became the only fan model, is this wrong? Who do you supposed to judge? Who do you think that key, like basically is it right? Because like let me tell you one thing, that girl is actually earning lot much amount of money more than doctor. Okay, yeah. So probably is this thing she is bit more successful. But dude, is a success is not actually measured by the money. No, success is actually measured by the respect. Success is actually measured by the influence. Success is actually measured by the respect and things like that. Okay, yeah. Obviously, you can earn so much amount of money through the kind of like doing the sexual activity or doing kind of like uploading sexual photo on social media or anything at all. You can earn so much amount of money, but you will lose the respect. You will lose the respect from the society. You will kind of like somebody that key. The society will not gonna look up that way. Okay, yeah. And in the end you just became kind of like somebody toys that people love to play. Yeah, they are not taking that much seriously. Yeah, legitly, like I'm taking it very kind of like my words are really legit. Like if you are kind of like going through this path, then people are actually taking care of as a toy. Okay, that people want to pay you some sort of money to play with you, and that's it. Okay, yeah. And your opinion doesn't really matter. Whatever it is, like how good is you are, how good is your kind of like things, and that people don't really take care of that, because you already made a kind of like a something image of yourself. Because of that you are kind of like a somebody this person, this sexual person. So it is what it is. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing na ki It's a personal choice. Okay, still I am not gonna kind of like a giving the kind of like some opinion regarding about what kind of like a career path they should supposed to choose, but it's a kind of like a something that key something that key it's somewhat something wrong. Okay, yeah, because if the everyone is kind of like a doing the same thing, if everyone is kind of like a doing this pornography and things like that, then it's a very wrong thing. It's not only it's a very wrong thing for the society, for everyone's perspective. So that's why yeah. So basically is this thing na ki, um basically is this thing, if the people is actually wanted to do this sexual thing or sexual activity, it is somewhat something is really wrong. Okay, this is my opinion, by the way. But let me tell you one thing, opinion might be changed. Okay, yeah, because in the future who knows what will gonna happen, because the way that the people is actually exposing the internet, and way that people are actually consuming the kind of like a some soft porn things and porn and things like that, in the future this might be become very common. This might be become kind of like a something very common. Like example is this thing, like right now I'm living in 2025. Okay, yeah, and in the movie, in the Hollywood movie, there are so many in the Hollywood movie, they are kind of like a revealing very like a sexual activity, like a basically is this thing na ki, let's just imagine 50 year ago showing kind of like a something the naked body on the kind of like a something film television, or kind of like in the film media. I'm talking about the Hollywood is a kind of like a something the media is kind of like a somebody working for almost like 100 years. So let's just take this example. So 50 year ago, kind of like a showcasing this kind of like a some sexual activity on the film is prohibited, is not really allow that. Okay, you need a kind of like a censors, some sort of censorship or certificate or things like that to kind of like a showcase and things like that. But if the movie is actually made for mass production, it's not really meant for kind of like a somebody do sexual activity and things like that. Okay, but right now in 2025, the shift is actually changed. Okay, yeah, like there are so many movies are actually showcasing so many revealing bodies and things like that. Let's just imagine the movie name 300 part 2. Okay, yeah, like a 300, the Zack Snyder movie part 2 was like a this movie. In this particular movie, they actually kind of like a showcase about the sex happened between the two person. Okay, yeah, like very revealing, by the way. Like basically in this particular position, like the her like a upper body is kind of like a entire thing is actually revealing and everything like that. Is it wrong? Well, it's a kind of like a something is this thing na ki, the shift perspective is actually changed. Like a 50 year ago this is not allowed, 50 year after this is kind of like a somebody allowed, 50 year future might be everything is allowed. So this is what something really happened, because I don't really see the future. I don't know what will gonna happen in the future. I am not really sure what exactly is this thing. Okay, yeah, but what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, in the future this will become very common in the future. Yeah, like basically in every movies they are kind of like a showcasing this thing and stuff. Then is it bad? Is it bad? Well, it's a perspective. It's a perspective of the human perspective. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing. um have you understand the concept of demand and supply? Okay, yeah, when there is a kind of like a something too much demand and supply is very less, then probably the value of that product is so much. Like example is this thing, let's just say gold. Okay, yeah, gold is a kind of like a something very less available. Okay, yeah, so basically having the supply of the gold is very less, so that's why demand is too much. When the demand is too much, the value of the gold is the too much. Okay, yeah, the value of the gold is increasing. Okay, yeah, so that's why the value of the gold since the hundreds of year it always increasing. It's like sometime it went down and things like that, but if you see the prediction path from the hundreds year, it is always be growing up. Okay, yeah, so this is what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that key, the supply is little less, the demand is much more, the value of the product is really bigger, value of the product is became big. Okay, yeah, same thing happened with the sexual thing. Like basically 50 year ago, being sexy or being sexual or being kind of like having that sexual thing is like a very less, so supply is having the porn film is very less, so demand is very high, so value of the porn is like a really high. Okay, yeah, but in right now condition, the porn is kind of like accessing porn is like a really easy, so basically the supply is too much and demand is not really that much. So basically the value of the pawn is like, yeah, it is somewhat okay, might be like there is kind of like something is saying that he still there is some sort of people are kind of like somebody have a little more demand and somewhere things like. But in the future, if we are going on this way, then in the future, if the porn, if the kind of like a naked body became so much accessible, so much like a, you could see everywhere in social media, in everything everywhere, then it became kind of like a something, the supply is too much, then demand is not really that much, then people interest might be changed and people don't really taking care of that much seriously. And then yeah, it's in the it's a kind of like a some human perspective, it's a human mind, it's a perception. Okay, yeah, what we needed, what we not. Okay, yeah, if the supply is really less, then demand is too much, then the desire to get that particular thing is too much, like owning the Bugatti Veyron or owning the Lamborghini car. These car are kind of like made very less. Okay, yeah, so that's why the supply is less, demand is too much, so value of this car is too much. Okay, yeah. Okay, but everyone can't afford, so this is what it is. Okay, same thing happened with the iPhone. iPhone is very expensive, is because of that key, it has very less supply. Okay, yeah, so that's why people are wanted to kind of like a one people are wanted to be kind of like a somebody part of that exclusive thing. Okay, yeah, and basically is this thing, the iPhone and the Lamborghini and Bugatti Veyron and supercars and gold and things like that, they are kind of like a somebody always gaining the value because they always meant their supply low. Okay, yeah, but if the porn media is kind of like a have a supply more, then probably demand is less, then it will become so much less value. Okay, when it become less value, then automatically this will become less important. Okay, yeah, so the creator, the people who actually make the porn film or people who actually include the porn scene in the movies will happen little less. And then yeah, so this is what actually happened. Okay, yeah, dude, I just kind of like a talk about almost like a, how much minute, it's been 41 minutes I'm actually talking about the porn and sexual and stuff like that, whatever. Okay, yeah, so this is kind of like a something soft porn. Okay, yeah, in context of everything I just kind of like explained this. By the way, I didn't really explain about the soft porn in Renaissance area. By the way, this soft porn, the technique, the term that you are actually hearing is not a term that just recently created. No, it's the term is actually created almost like a 400 year ago. Yeah, since the Renaissance era, by the way. Okay, let me tell you what exactly happened in the Renaissance area. What's a Renaissance area? A Renaissance area where people are really where people are really excited to create the art form, like a painting or kind of like a sculpture or kind of like a something like yeah, whatever it is. Okay, yeah, try to like basically mostly Renaissance areas actually happen in Europe. Okay, because mostly in Italy. Okay, yeah, because in Italy are kind of like a something meant for kind of like a Renaissance area where so many people are wanted to draw painting or things and art forms and kind of like a evolution of understanding the mechanism and things like that. Okay, Leonardo is one of them. Leonardo is actually part of the Renaissance area and things like that, Renaissance era. Okay, so let's just jump into the topic. Okay, so in the Renaissance area, Renaissance era, people are kind of like simply making paintings. Okay, yeah, Leonardo makes a Mona Lisa painting. There are so many artists who actually created to draw paintings. Okay, yeah, painting is a kind of like a something art form. They are kind of like a creating a visual thought process. Okay, they kind of like a paint regarding about Jesus. They paint about something things. Okay, yeah. Now in that particular era, people are also really horny too. Like right now people are horny right now, same people are horny on that era too. Okay, yeah, so like basically some artists are draw some sort of kind of like a something naked body painting. Okay, yeah, naked body painting, and that painting sold out very fastly. Okay, yeah, because that painting is a kind of like a sort of expression of love. Okay, yeah, in that particular period of time, sex is a kind of like a topic was not even invented yet. Okay, yeah, at that time it was kind of like a something considered to be a love, means like that ki painting a sexy body and things like that, it's considered to be a kind of like a something expression of love and things like that. So in that period of time, most of the artists is draw kind of like a something so many naked body painting. Okay, yeah, naked body painting. But this is not actually considered to be a soft porn, because in that particular painting everything is very revealing. Okay, yeah, like there is no cloth in the body and things like that, everything is very revealing. But why this is actually soft porn? Because the the people are actually looking at that painting not a sexual way, but kind of like a simply a kind of like a simply a very creative way to express the love and things like that. Okay, yeah. What do you mean by that? Okay, yeah. So let's just imagine, okay, you are seeing a naked body painting in 2025 in social media platform. You are feel really sexual, you are feel really sexy, you are feel really aroused to be sexual, things like that. But similarly, when you see the kind of like a painting 400-year ago painting, you don't really feel that much sexy. Okay, why? Because it feels like that it's a painting, it's a craft, it's a kind of like expression of love and things like that. So this is what it is. Okay, yeah, like basically if you kind of like a something create the content in just a different medium, it kind of like a change the perception of looking at. Okay, yeah, like a naked body painting is not really that much sexually arousing that naked body photo. Okay, yeah, naked body photo on social media. Okay, yeah. So basically this is what it is. Okay, yeah, because painting is a kind of like a some expression of art form. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a somewhat something arousing, little bit of sexual, but very less. Okay, yeah, as compared to a kind of like a social media post or social media sexual photo is kind of like a arousing so much sexual thing. Oh yeah. So if I'm gonna say that a soft porn is actually come up from the Renaissance era, I'm thinking, I'm not really sure about that stuff, but this is my thought process maybe, because at that time people are really horny too. People are make paintings about that. We have so much evidence to people make the naked body painting. It's yeah, it's really, I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing, but this is what it is. Whatever. I just talk about really controversial topic right now. Okay, yeah. I don't know, but it's a kind of like a something express. It's a kind of like a things that I wanted to express. Okay, yeah. Also, the stuff that I mentioned in this artifact episode, it's my thought process. It is my thing. It is what I know about that particular process. I am not a kind of like a solely person who kind of like a judge the thing. I am not a kind of like a solely person who kind of like a draw the line between what is really right or wrong. It's a kind of like a simply a thought process, and thought process is a raw. It's a kind of like a things that key. It's a kind of like a things that key. It's a kind of like a my opinion. It's not kind of like a simply correct all the time and things like that. Okay, yeah. So the stuff that I mentioned in this artifact episode, it's a very controversial thing. If someone is, it might hurt and things like that. Do I take a blame? I don't know. It's a kind of like a somebody experience that I get. Okay, probably. Yeah. So I think okay, yeah. And if there is a kind of like a somebody that you're hurting, or from my word and things like that, I'm really sorry, because it's a very controversial topic. People are not really able to talk about this topic, and I am actually try to talk about this particular topic. I don't know, but yeah, like should I talk about those kind of like a controversial talk, controversial statement, controversial question regarding about sexual and things like that? Yeah, let's talk. Let's just understand that fact. Look, let's just understand what is actually human thought process regarding about sexual activity and things like that. Okay, so let's just explore this topic, okay, to understand regarding about what is actually right and wrong and things like that. All right, so this is it. I should supposed to end here, and thank you.